It started with a whisper, then echoed into screams across Southeast Asia. A single command, fire, and everything changed. Thailand, a country known for serenity and temples, has just launched surface-to-surface missiles from its Eastern Military Command. Their targets? Specific coordinates deep inside Cambodian territory. But this isn't just war. It's a decades-old grudge finally detonating. To most of the world, this came out of nowhere. But to those who've lived along the border, the war was always coming. It just needed a spark. And in 2025, that spark ignited fire. What you're about to see isn't dramatized. It's not CGI, it's real. This is a full-scale military escalation caught in real time, missiles in flight, their trajectories calculated to cause maximum disruption, not just to structures, but to psyches. This isn't just Thailand versus Cambodia. This is strategy versus sovereignty. Modern warfare stitched into ancient hatred. But how did we get here? And why now? Stay with me. Because the real story, the untold story, is buried under lies, treaties, and betrayal. And what's coming next will redefine the region forever. To understand this war, we must first journey backward, into the roots of a feud far older than modern weapons. A war born not in 2025, but centuries ago. In forgotten treaties, wounded pride, and colonial lines drawn in sand. The seeds were sown during the colonial era. Cambodia, stripped of sovereignty, was absorbed into France's Indochina. Meanwhile, Thailand, then Siam, watched warily. The borders shifted. Lands traded hands. But resentment? That stayed. In 1907, France forced Siam to cede territories now part of modern Cambodia. To Thailand, it was humiliation, masked as diplomacy. To Cambodia, it was justice repaid. But what both sides ignored was the wound that never healed. Then came 1962. The International Court ruled the ancient Preah Vihear temple belonged to Cambodia. But Thailand never truly accepted it. Even decades later, their military patrolled nearby hills, eyes locked on sacred stones like soldiers guarding ghosts. The 2008 border skirmishes reignited the fire. Artillery duels, civilian evacuations, schools turned to bunkers. Still, the world barely noticed. ASEAN issued statements, but on the ground, hatred festered. Even children were weaponized. In schools, history was rewritten. Cambodian students were taught about Thai aggression. Thai students read about Cambodia's provocations. Generations raised not with peace, but with purpose, to remember the enemy. Then came the whisper campaigns. Thai nationalist circles are calling Cambodia a lost province. Claims that historical maps were forged. The rhetoric wasn't diplomatic, it was ancestral. And as 2025 approached, troop movements near the border surged. Surveillance drones buzzed over temples. Farmers vanished. Shots fired in the dark, blamed on accidents. But nothing about this was accidental. This wasn't just about territory. It was about pride, memory, bloodlines. And in 2025, those memories demanded revenge. It was 4:17 a.m., April 12, 2025. A silence was shattered. One command echoed through the dense border jungle. From a Thai artillery command post stationed just 70 kilometers from Siem Reap. Thai commander, radio static. Stand by, target locked, 70 degrees, fire. In seconds, 12 tactical missiles, new Gen H-21B warheads, left Thai territory and vanished into the skies. Their destination? The outskirts of Cambodia's An Long Veng district, and whatever stood beneath it. Cambodian defenses had no warning, no radar alert, no diplomatic notice. Just Incineration. Hospitals collapsed, power grids fried. Entire communication networks are gone in the first 90 seconds. Cambodian state media went offline at 4:22 a.m. And in that blackout, chaos bred confusion. Cambodia's chain of command fractured. By the time a retaliatory strike could be organized, 7 more Thai barrages had landed. Systematic, precise, and devastating. This wasn't war, it was psychological blitzkrieg. Thailand wasn't just destroying infrastructure, they were deleting Cambodia's ability to think, respond, or even understand what was happening. Cambodian PM, subtitled, "We are under attack. This is not a border incident. This is war. The Thai military has crossed the line, both literally and morally." Global reaction? Stunned silence. ASEAN called for restraint. The UN urged an investigation, but nothing could undo what was already burned into Cambodian soil. In just 4 minutes, Thailand's opening act rewrote the map. Not just in borders, but in memory. This was no skirmish. This was a declaration. While Cambodian cities burned, inside Thailand's war rooms, the real game had only just begun. This wasn't just retaliation for a border skirmish. That was the cover story. The reality? Thailand had been planning these strikes for 18 months. The goal was twofold. First, secure the newly discovered lithium reserves sitting just 3 kilometers inside Cambodian soil. Second, neutralize the Chinese-built missile defense grid stationed in northern Cambodia. Thailand saw this Chinese encroachment not just as a threat, but as an act of war by proxy. So they did what most nations would never dare. Preemptive domination cloaked as border retaliation. To them, this wasn't war. This was business. War was just the medium. And behind the scenes, shadow players moved too. Defense contractors, resource brokers, even certain U.S. firms, allegedly, had access to the lithium field's exploration data months before Cambodia did. Thai General, our operations are defensive. We are protecting Thai sovereignty. Any claims otherwise are propaganda. Thai General, off record, Cambodia was slow. China was fast. We were faster. That's how war works now. This wasn't just a war room. It was a command center for geopolitical reprogramming. Thailand wasn't fighting Cambodia. They were sending a message to China, to ASEAN, and to the world. We will no longer wait to be threatened. We strike first. When the missiles hit, they didn't just hit coordinates. They hit homes, schools, hospitals. Within the first 4 hours of Thailand's strike, over 11,000 civilians were displaced. Entire border villages erased. Cambodia wasn't ready. Not militarily, not emotionally, and certainly not politically. Cambodian PM. We call for immediate international intervention. Our sovereignty is under siege. Our people are dying. And in the chaos, order collapsed. The military fractured. Border forces abandoned posts. Citizens took up arms, not because they were soldiers, but because there was no one else left to fight. Officer, we're surrounded. No air support, no backup. Civilians are hiding in irrigation canals. They're coming. I think this is it. The world watched. It watched. No troops, no peacekeepers, just statements. The people of Cambodia got hashtags. They didn't just lose land, they lost faith. Faith in systems, faith in neighbors, faith in the idea that peace was even possible again. When missiles fall, governments respond. But when lives fall, silence echoes the loudest. U.S. Air Force officer, actual voice recording. Thai long-range launch confirmed. Repeat. Impact zone crosses Cambodian national line. We have a regional breach. A missile crossed a border. But the tremor it sent? crossed oceans. Governments around the world suddenly froze, because what just happened in Southeast Asia broke more than just a treaty. For decades, ASEAN stood as a symbol of Asian diplomacy, non-interference, consensus, and unity. But this war? This exposed the rot. When Cambodia cried for intervention, nobody moved. Not because they didn't want to, but because they didn't know how. ASEAN had no playbook for full-scale intermember warfare. Southeast Asia just became a spark in a powder keg. And everyone's watching who will light the match. U.S. defense analyst. If Thailand gets away with this, what stops others? This isn't just a regional conflict. It's a blueprint. China's silence is louder than any condemnation. Because silence buys leverage. Silence buys options. Every power is now calculating. If Cambodia falls, does China get stronger? If Thailand wins, do alliances shift? When peace depends on powers playing poker, civilians lose every time. A local conflict became a global mirror, and what it reflects is terrifying. Fragile diplomacy, broken institutions, and the cold truth: the world isn't ready for what comes next. And as the world stares into the fire, the people who lit the match still refuse to look. Officially, Thailand claimed national security. That Cambodia had harbored armed dissidents. Those missile strikes were necessary. But in politics, necessity is rarely pure. And in war, it's never honest. That village sat above a newly discovered rare earth deposit. Lithium, graphite, tungsten. Resources not just for profit, but for power. Strange timing, isn't it? You think we bombed for defense? We bombed for dominance. Those hills fund 10 years of technological supremacy, and we couldn't let Cambodia sell it to China. It wasn't just national pride, it was geopolitics, economics, fear, and something deeper, a ghost from the past. Cambodia burned their embassy once, shamed their flag, and for some in Bangkok, that wound never closed. They said this was about insurgents, about national safety. But in private war rooms, they whispered about respect, revenge, and regional dominance. And what about the people? The mothers in Chiang Rai, whose sons are sent to the invisible jungles? The fathers in Phnom Penh burying their children under missile fragments marked "Made in Bangkok"? This wasn't the Thai people's war. It was their government's calculation, their elite's ambition, and their generals' gamble. They said Cambodia provoked, but the targets weren't rebels. They were mines, memory, and a chance to prove Thailand still runs the map. And behind every bomb, there's a motive. You just have to dig deeper than the crater. When a missile crosses a border, the world doesn't end. But when it crosses another, and another, and another, that's how history resets itself in fire. As of this hour, Thai artillery units have taken forward positions just 12 kilometers from Siem Reap. Cambodian drones have begun active surveillance over disputed airspace. The plan? A full strategic encirclement of Cambodia's northern provinces, under the pretext of flushing out non-state actors. Cambodian PM: we will not be another Ukraine. If they advance again, we respond with full force. And suddenly, Southeast Asia is a chessboard. But this game, every piece is nuclear capable. It's not just about Thailand or Cambodia. It's about every alliance on Earth being tested at once. One more strike, one civilian convoy was targeted, one false flag operation, and you don't just have a border war, you have Southeast Asia's Sarajevo moment. In the last 24 hours alone, 5 air defense systems have been activated in Laos. 2 missile cruisers were rerouted by Japan. and Australian submarines have vanished from satellite. War doesn't start with tanks. It starts with a talk that fails, with red lines crossed too many times, and with men who gamble with fire, hoping it won't burn them. In the next 72 hours, the world will know if this was just a spark, or the match that ignites a generation.